Hey everyone, Thyworm here with the top 5 Discord comments of the last 2 weeks. I might turn this into a bi-weekly item or post one whenever a bunch of nice suggestions are there. For now, let's dive into the comments. I'll give you my thoughts and some ideas on how difficult it is to technically implement your suggestions. CoStar says, lower the time in Gauntlet to 20 minutes max. It's way too high right now. 35 minutes of running in a room or just standing still is just plain boring. And above that, at the end, you get almost nothing, since you guys lower the chances on legendaries. This is a comment I've heard a lot, and I completely agree at this point. I used to have a bit of a different opinion, thinking that the length would increase the difficulty. While that is still true, it just doesn't really compare to how repetitive the Gauntlet can get, and most of all, it's overly frustrating when you die a couple of minutes before the end. There are a few aspects to this comment. First, the length in general. I've said before that I'm fine with like 40 minutes doing a dungeon, but after a couple of weeks of running a lot of Gauntlet instances, I take that back. It's way too long. I've arrived at the point where I don't really want to engage with the Gauntlet at all anymore, because it just takes too long to complete. The time spent versus the rewards gained isn't great either, as the original poster points out. As a matter of fact, the rewards are rather lackluster. If you want to be efficient at farming, you're much better off doing some endgame bosses. They can be done in minutes, they drop very decent loot and they are worth your precious time. The only thing you won't get are some of these special legendaries that drop exclusively in the Gauntlet. For quite a few people, a good reason to farm the Gauntlet. It is for me, that's for sure. Technical implementation? Super easy of course, just delete the first 3 waves. So, to conclude, I completely agree with the comment and I think 15 minutes is a nice time frame for an instance like this. Mainly because of the repetitiveness and the one-shot potential on master difficulty. I think 15 minutes is plenty. Let's hope this gets implemented at some point, that would be great. Kaichi says, how about transmog your currently wielded weapon with the weapon skins you previously unlocked through finding and forging? I think this is a great suggestion really. A significant amount of people are interested in crafting cosmetics like this, and the transmog option would really add a lot of value to those players. It would allow us to farm some other legendaries. It would make lower level legendaries a lot more useful as well, because while you might not equip them anymore for the stats, you might still want to transmog them. Also, because of the art style and weapon design in this game is really awesome, I can imagine a lot of people would be interested in an option like this. I would for sure. There's currently times when I'm playing Morok for example that I'm actually taking a weaker weapon to slash around with rather than my best weapon, simply because that other weapon, that weaker weapon, just looks so cool. So I would welcome the opportunity to transmog my favorite looking scythe on top of my best weapon. Implementing something like this is pretty tough though, I would argue. The main reason is that a system like this isn't in place. As far as I'm aware, there are no options to change the look of an item, so that will have to be built. Also, the crafting part needs to be built and designed. Overall, this requires a lot of design work and decision making from the developer team. So that'll take a while. It doesn't mean, however, that it's a bad idea, because it is a good idea, it's just one that requires a significant amount of effort. 10 Logos says, great job with the hero unlock update, way better than it was before. Thank you for listening to players their feedback. Compliment of the week, this one, because I want to also cover positive feedback, and I couldn't agree more myself. I've mentioned this multiple times in the past, but it is worth mentioning nonetheless, because the Hero Souls is a really great change. Pagan Online surely has its flaws, and there are quite a few game mechanics currently in a place that are far from optimal. But most of the changes that are made by Mad Hat Games result in a better game experience and a more polished game overall. The Hero Souls is a good example of this, I feel. Apart from that, the way Mad Hat Games keeps communicating on the Discord, the availability of the devs and the way community feedback is incorporated is just amazing to see, and quite hard to find these days. I'm sure they'll keep it up, and I'm looking forward to the next patch, which should hit somewhere this week, if they stick to their release schedule. And guys, share your ideas about these comments in the comments down below on YouTube. Zion says, this game definitely needs a system of showing dropped items that are for legendary crafting. I have like 10 recipes, it gets kind of annoying when I have to open my inventory all the time to see the names of the weapons and items needed for legendary crafting. Great remark from Zion. This is definitely an endgame issue, or at least an issue which is more prevalent once you have reached the final stages of the game. Your inventory will most likely be overloaded with crafting recipes and legendary blueprints, and remembering the base items for all those recipes and blueprints is impossible. I am personally just keeping a small notebook next to my mouse and write down which base items I'm looking for. I usually also go farm for those specific items so I can complete my crafts and hopefully get a new, nice, shiny legendary. It would, however, be nice if there was a system in the game for this, so I'm not dependent on old-fashioned pen and paper. That's where this suggestion comes in, and that's why this is a really great suggestion. If it would be possible to somehow indicate that the drop base item is currently required for crafting, that would be awesome. I think technically speaking this isn't too complicated either, for two reasons. One, the game already has a system in place to highlight items because of the quest items required for hunts. And two, the game also already has a system in place that checks the availability of a base item for crafting once you hover over recipes. The game is already aware if you own the necessary base items or not. So all that needs to be done is combine these systems, have it do a cross-check against the loot on the map, and highlight any base items required for crafting. Seems doable to me, this suggestion from Zion. ZZ says, I would really want to know how high gear can roll in terms of stats, percentages, and how high might can one random item have. I wonder how much higher it can roll in terms of might. Would be nice to know so you don't waste mats if an item has reached its highest amount of might. ZZ makes a good point here. In other action RPGs like Path of Exile, this option exists. There, it is possible, I think by pressing Alt when hovering over an item, to see to what extent your roll was good. It indicates the minimum and maximum values of an item property, thereby indicating if you got a lucky or unlucky roll. Pagan Online doesn't have anything like this, which makes it really hard to understand if you reforged a good item or not. Also, this change should be one that's manageable in terms of development. Once again, the systems are already in place, because they're being used every time you reforge an item. All that is left is to make those systems transparent to the player in some sort of graphical overlay. I'm not saying it's easy, but it shouldn't be extremely difficult either. And that's it for now, guys. If you want more beginner guides, news and educational content regarding Pagan Online, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon. Check out my streams on Monday, Wednesday and Friday, 8 PM Central European Time, where we are all one big happy family, helping each other out with quests and advice. Thanks for watching, I will see you soon, bye bye.